Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, welcome to a new video. In today's video, we will be talking about the latest album from Lingua Ignota, titled Caligula. This is the latest album from multi-instrumentalist Kristin Hayter, who has made a splash back in 2017 with her self-released album All Bitches Die, along with another album that I can't remember the name of right now. Let the evil of his own lips cover him. That's right. Hayter's music went through word of mouth and got the attention of Profound Lore Records, which released the third album from Hayter and reissued her second album, All Bitches Die. Now look, if you are coming to this video curious to find an album that you are going to enjoy or an album that you want to enjoy, this is not an album you necessarily enjoy for the factor that it's enjoyable. Rather, you enjoy this album because you appreciate how it expresses itself. This is not an album for the faint of heart. This is a very dark album, much like her last projects as well, but this album is darker than the other two albums by tenfold. Hayter is a survivor of domestic abuse, and it definitely shows in her songwriting, as she has described numerous times that she writes songs considered survivor anthems. What this builds up to is monstrosities of songs that are absolutely crushing. What we get on Caligula is more of a defined piece of work from Hayter, but it's also more focused. Her genre of music can only be described very interestingly as Neoclassical Darkwave music, and despite the numerous labels that has been put on this album, put on her as a whole, there's just something about this album that I can only put into one word. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Dark. This album would scare off most people from like the first two tracks, especially the second track, Do You Doubt Me Traitor. The track is this piano piece, a 9-minute piano piece that in the middle half of it turns into this explosive mile-high wall of instrumentation that is just crushing. Soul crushing, and her vocals are screaming at the top of her lungs to the point where the audio is literally clipping and you just hear almost very harsh noise. It works well with all of the other instrumentation that's on this album, and most of the time she's not even screaming on the entire album. She's actually singing, and even at some points throat singing. But when the noise, the walls of noise happen, they are excitingly terrifying. This is what I would describe as the equivalent of a horror movie in music form, as it does scare me a little bit whenever I have to listen to this thing. It immediately scares off the people that think that they can handle it, but can't. But the people that actually can handle it go further down the track list to the songs like Butcher of the World, which is definitely a song not for the faint of heart at all. It is absolutely crushing. The audio is clipping not only her vocals but the instrumentation as well on this song. And this is only a few cases where everything is just clipping the audio. You hear staticky noise in the recording, and you definitely hear her vocals just ring out into the ether. But other times you get songs that are a little more somber and a little less abrasive. The first track off of this album, Faithful Servant, Friend of Christ. I'm reading off of my phone because I don't remember most of these title names. Faithful Servant, Friend of Christ is this nice piano ballad that's pretty dark, pretty diminishing, but it starts off the album in a nice way, and I say that in the context of this entire album. And then you get Do You Doubt Me Traitor, which I just talked about. Butcher of the World, just talked about as well, and then you get May Failure Be Your Noose. I could describe every single song on this album as dark and diminishing, but I definitely need to go into more context here. A lot of the songs deal with religious beliefs. There's a lot of religious undertones to it as well. I mean, hell, the first track is literally the word Christ in it. But these religious undertones take precedent in the fact that the overtones, the basic lyricism on this album is more so talking about love and lost love because of an abusive relationship. Let's talk about the instrumentation for a moment, where a lot of it is, as I said before, a multi-instrumentalist. She's actually classically trained as well, so you hear a lot of pianos, a lot of strings are on this album. The few times that there is a passage of pianos and strings, it is very beautifully put together. It is nicely pieced together. It's almost symphonic. But the lyricism is almost the opposite of like this beautiful, nicely arranged orchestra. That's the best way I can describe it. This beautifully arranged piece of work, and the lyrics are just absolutely crushing and way too deep for any kind of strings to embody, at least personally. It seems like it doesn't mix, but she makes it mix so well. Then you have a lot of these like build-ups that are just building and building and building. The instrumentation piles on top of one another, and then you get the vocals are getting louder and louder and louder, and then you just get a wall of instrumentation. I mean, this is like a mile-high wall of instrumentation that's just crashing at you, and sometimes it doesn't even build up. It just kind of hits you like a bus. Songs like Virtue of the World or If the Poison Won't Take You, My Dogs Will. And quite frankly, I'll be honest here, when I'm listening to this album, sometimes these two songs in particular scare the living crap out of me because, you know, listening to the song prior to If Poison Doesn't Take You, My Dogs Will, which is the song Fragrant Is My Many-Flowered Crown, which is this very somber and quiet piece of music, and it ends off very quietly. And then you just get the next track, which, again, hits you like a bus. Kind of like a spoiler alert. That's what I'm talking about. A lot of the singing on this album, like I said, ranges from nice actual singing to screaming and also throat singing. And the one thing that I find very impressive about Hayter's vocals is that she can stretch them out for long periods of time, and I mean like stretch them out. Like, you ever try to sing along with her, it takes your breath away, literally. Like, you're not like, wow, that's amazing, you're like out of breath, because it is just quite literally breathtaking. The lyrics on this album are very dark. I mean, you can just look up most any song on this album and you can just find like a snippet of just very brutal lyrics. The lyrics to If the Poison Won't Take You talks about a serial killer, and she's almost writing this to the serial killer as if she wants to join this serial killer, as she wants to partake in what the serial killer is doing. The serial killer is a girl by the name of Eileen, asking Eileen to join her because Eileen is this murderer who's killed men, and the men she claimed she was protecting herself. So will you join me? Will you join me? If you lay your life down, no man can take it. Will you join me? Will you join me? Abandon your body so no man can break it. A lot of the lyrics on this album are, again, very dark, very depressing, very diminishing. As much as this album is absolutely dark, it is an experience from front to back. High highs with depressive lows and crushing walls of instrumentation that take over your brain, and you just can never get that out of your mind. When Hayter does say that these are survivor anthems, surely they are, but in like the weirdest way possible. It's proof of what abuse can do to someone, and quite frankly, it scares me. It scares me. This album is scary. And maybe it's because I'm a wimp, but hey, I listened to the entire thing. Have you? I will say this album does have its gripes, its criticisms. And one, I wish there was a little more focus to the songs. Like, sometimes the songs can go from really, really dark to kind of a little glitzy, a little upbeat in context to the rest of the album. Also, a lot of the songs feel very well spoken and very cohesive. A couple tracks, one in particular, the song Fucking Death Dealer, is very short. It doesn't go long enough. I feel like it doesn't actually have time to flourish, and this entire album has songs that are like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and this song's about 2 minutes long, so it really doesn't feel all that complacent in the album. Nevertheless, this album is absolutely soul-crushing, and despite the tiny flaws here and there, I think this is her best album to date. And it is certainly something that will never leave my mind in the meantime. It's definitely left a scar up here. So at the end of this, I'll give this album an A-. Very strong A-, because, damn, this album is hard-hitting. It is profound, and it is absolutely dark. It's dark. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this album down below. Let me know what albums you want me to review next. And that is it. Leave a like, comment, share, do whatever you want. Lingua Ignota, Caligula. Until next time.